Iguanas are popular pets in many countries. Like most other animals we have as pets, they can form an attachment to their owners. But do iguanas actually recognize their owners? Let's take a look at the evidence. There is some anecdotal evidence that suggests that iguanas can recognize their owners. Many iguana owners report that their iguana greets them when they come home. This is known as self-recognition, and it's considered to be a sign of intelligence. If an animal can recognize itself in the mirror, it means that it understands that it's an individual, separate from other animals and humans. They don't live in groups like mammals do, so they don't have to recognize individuals within their own species. Iguanas are more like cats in this regard. They may not recognize you as an individual, but they do know that you are a part of their territory. If you are the primary caregiver for your iguana, it will come to associate you with food and other forms of positive reinforcement. Over time, it will develop a preference for you over other humans. So even though your iguana might not recognize you, it still knows you well enough to feel comfortable around you. They also don't have as much need to interact with humans as other animals do, since they can live perfectly happy lives without human interaction. Just because an iguana doesn't recognize you as its owner doesn't mean that it doesn't like you. It's just a reptile being a reptile. Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more fun animal videos. Not many animals can pass the self-recognition test, so it's interesting that iguanas seem to be able to do it. If you watch videos of people coming home to their iguanas, you will see that this is definitely the case for some iguanas. There are studies that show that dogs can recognize their owners from a lineup of other people. They can also recognize themselves in the mirror.
After all,
reptiles are much more distant relatives of ours than mammals are. If you look at the evolutionary tree of life, you will see that reptiles and mammals are on completely different branches. This means that reptiles and mammals have a very different genetic makeup. It's possible that this genetic difference is why reptiles are not as good at recognizing their owners as mammals are. Cats, on the other hand, don't seem to recognize themselves in the mirror, but they do seem to recognize their owners. So maybe iguanas are more like cats in this regard. However, it's hard to say whether the iguana is actually recognizing its owner, or if it's just excited to see the person because they know that they might get a treat. There is also some evidence that iguanas can recognize themselves in the mirror. However, there is no scientific evidence that shows that iguanas can recognize their owners. The fact that iguanas are reptiles instead of mammals might have something to do with their ability to recognize their owners. Another reason why iguanas might not recognize their owners is because they are not as social creatures. Even though iguanas might not recognize their owners in the same way that dogs do, they can still form an attachment to their owners. So do iguanas recognize their owners? The answer is probably not, but they can still form an attachment to their owners. Now you know that iguanas probably don't recognize their owners. What do you think of these amazing creatures? Do you want one as a pet?